Donald Duck, a mascot for Disney, a children's cartoon, and quite possibly the most abused character in Kingdom Hearts. Now this is mainly stems through Donald not healing properly. A meme that has existed in the Kingdom Hearts community for the past 22 years, whether it be Donald healing too early, healing too late, or healing on the exact same frame that you decide to heal, wasting your MP in the process or an item. Hell, even in Chain of Memories, there is actually a chance that Donald Duck will end up healing, assisting the enemy that you are fighting. If Donald uses an elemental-based magic on an enemy of the same element, they will receive health back. Thanks, Donald.
Donald, go. Do not use fire!
Now the general fix towards this is to go into the party member customization options and changing the battle tactics for Donald. I can confirm, I have done this a million times. It doesn't work. While it does certainly improve the rate in which Donald is going to heal you and the accuracy of which, it most certainly doesn't fix the issue altogether. This is a long-running meme, and I swear at this point Square Enix are pretty much aware of it, hence why we ended up seeing something quite incredible in Kingdom Hearts 3, possibly one of the most epic moments in Kingdom Hearts history. That would be none other than the Donald Zetta Flare, a true redemption arc for Donald Duck. The Flare magic is one of the most powerful moves in both the universe of Final Fantasy games and Kingdom Hearts. Now, Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy uses the data value of measurement in order to determine the power of a flare spell. The current known flare levels follow as Mega Flare, Giga Flare, Terra Flare, Exa Flare, and Zetta Flare, being the absolute almighty most powerful. Now, even if you're a person that doesn't understand the flare magic from specifically Final Fantasy, viewing Donald's Zetta Flare for the first time in Kingdom Hearts 3, you could pretty much tell, due to what's going on in the situation, that oh shit, this Duck is about to sacrifice his life force to pull off a move. Especially seeing the worry of Goofy in this moment, basically telling Donald not to do it because he knows exactly what's going to happen. Donald is pretty much going to knock himself out if he pulls this attack off. I think what's cool about this moment too is it also tells us that perhaps maybe in the past Donald Duck has pulled this attack off before, or perhaps even King Mickey himself. Donald and Goofy have witnessed King Mickey using Zetta Flare, but knowing the consequences of actually using the attack, hence why Goofy was so worried about Donald's safety in the moment of summoning Zetta Flare. What was amazing about this though is Kingdom Hearts is really the first major video game to pull off the Zetta Flare attack. Or was it? Previously within Final Fantasy, the strongest flare attack that's ever been used by primarily Bahamut was within Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, which is Exa Flare, which you can use with the Bahamut summon. And this attack is ridiculous, and at the time of Crisis Core's release, this would have to have been one of the strongest attacks in all of Final Fantasy history. Bahamut quite literally uses the moon as a cannon barrel to then fire an energy blast into what is basically an existence-ending attack. It almost looks like it destroys part of the planet, like pretty much a continent-destroying magic move. Now we know that Final Fantasy XVI finally showed us Zetta Flare within a Final Fantasy title. I absolutely shat bricks when I saw this for the first time. I had it in my head as I was going through the Bahamut boss fight. I have this feeling, because they showed off Zetta Flare in Kingdom Hearts 3, that Zetta Flare is probably going to be pulled off by Bahamut here. If previously the strongest flare move that Bahamut had used was Exa, then surely Zetta is going to show up, and lo and behold, Dion pulls it off. And the sheer power of Zetta Flare within Final Fantasy XVI is on full display. I don't think people really grasp the true power of Zetta Flare within Kingdom Hearts 3, other than completely annihilating Terra Xehanort. The true magnitude and potential of this attack isn't on display during that Donald Duck moment, though I think everyone could pretty much assume the raw power if they had experienced Crisis Core through seeing what Exa Flare is capable of. Bahamut in 16 was going to use Zetta Flare to destroy the entire planet, and of course if Clive hadn't intervened, that's exactly what would have happened. This is a planet planet-ending magic spell that only gods can pull off. However though, some people would argue that Zetta Flare has actually appeared in Final Fantasy before Final Fantasy 16, and that's during Final Fantasy 14, the very original version. For those of you who don't know, Final Fantasy 14 launched to not great success. It was a bit of a failure, and Square Enix ended up taking the game down, took some time to work on it a little bit, and re-released it as a Realm Reborn. What's neat about this though is there was actually a canonical event in-game to explain why Final Fantasy 14 was shutting down. And during this event, in the story, the world of 14 is essentially ended by Bahamut using a flare magic. Now, there is no answer online. I have tried to search and search and search, literally only conversation talking about perhaps what level of flare Bahamut is using here. The answer that I always come across is that Bahamut is using Terra Flare in this moment to end the entire world. And don't get me wrong, something like Terra Flare is still an incredibly powerful attack, but to end an entire world? I don't think so. Again, from what I have tried to find, there is no definitive answer on exactly what level of flare Bahamut is using here, but if we were to have to take a guess, especially using Exaflare from Crisis Core, which predates that of Final Fantasy XIV, then we can only assume that this level of flare is in fact Zeta. Either way though, if Bahamut in Final Fantasy XIV really did end up using Terra Flare, then we at least know through Final Fantasy XVI that Zetta Flare is a planet-ending magic, which essentially tells us that yes indeed, Donald Duck pulled off an attack that could quite literally destroy an entire world. Now, looking at Zetta Flare within Final Fantasy XVI is miles more impressive and pretty compared to that of what Donald Duck pulls off. Donald Duck's Zetta Flare seems like more of a focused, singular beam aimed to destroy one singular thing, and that is the person before him, being Terra Xehanort, whereas the intention behind Zetta Flare within Final Fantasy XVI was to quite literally destroy the entire planet, hence why it looks the way it does. Also, we have to keep in mind too that the nature of spells can be different within Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy, even though they share some of the exact same magics. However, what I think a lot of people don't realize is Zetta Flare has actually appeared in another game, another Square Enix title known as Bravely Default from 2012. In Bravely Default, one of the final bosses is known as Aerie the Fairy, and yes, this is hilarious because at the time we thought that like Donald Duck was the only character, a cartoon duck, to pull off one of the most powerful Square Enix planet-destroying attacks of all time. But it turns out that also a fairy, a fairy, can pull off the same move. There's something about like Square Enix and giving characters that don't come across as planet-ending magic users turn out to be planet-ending magic users. What's up with that? Cut a long story short, Aerie the Fairy is a good character that accompanies you and your crew in Bravely Default. Turns out at the end of the game, oh no, it's revealed she's actually a bad guy, and so you have to fight her as one of the final boss fights, and one of the moves that she uses is Zetta Flare. It should be known too that Bravely Default also uses some of the same magic that appears throughout Final Fantasy, so it's again like Kingdom Hearts, another similar case here. However, the Zetta Flare that appears in Bravely Default is just a pretty simple basic magic attack, albeit one that is certainly still powerful. It certainly doesn't come across as a planet-ending move. Bravely Default does have a planet-ending attack though that is performed by the true final boss, or Ouroboros, known as Annihilation. It quite literally does delete planets. But what's crazy is Bravely Default is in fact the first known time that a Square Enix character has pulled off Zetta Flare. First attempted by a fairy. However, if we are comparing Donald Duck to Bahamut, and let's say that both attacks are still the exact same version of one another, it would still seem that Bahamut would probably come out on top over Donald Duck, just considering that it seems like there's a consequence for Donald using Zetta Flare, as he literally has to sacrifice part of his life force in order to pull it off. After that, Donald is in a coma for the next few weeks. Still though, it is pretty crazy to know that only a few Square Enix characters have ever been able to pull off this planet-ending move. That being a cartoon duck, a fairy, and a big dragon guy. It's great that it appeared in Final Fantasy XVI. I think this might tell us that Zetta Flare might become more prominent throughout Final Fantasy going forward. This would now leave the only flare attack to be pulled off being Yotta Flare, which would be one level above Zetta Flare. Yotta being the next value of size in memory above that of a zettabyte. Do keep in mind though that Zetta Flare isn't the all-reigning, all-powerful magic spell. It is strong, but there are some other spells that equal its potency. And in actual fact, one other one has appeared in Kingdom Hearts 3, being that of Mickey's Ultima. In Final Fantasy, Ultima is also known as one of the strongest spells to pull off. And I feel like not enough people really talk about Mickey's Ultima, and more so just straight up Donald Duck's Zetta Flare, but yeah, Ultima is incredibly powerful. It can bypass any sort of protective magic and annihilate anything in the general area. Being that of planet-destroying though, no not quite, but it is a strong magic. However though, we know that in the moment that Mickey used Ultima, he was countered by Xehanort pulling off Stopza, so for at least the Kingdom Hearts universe, Stopza can be used to counter Ultima. But it is cool to know that Mickey is currently the only Kingdom Hearts character that can pull off Ultima. Supernova is also another very well-known, incredibly powerful spell that is very similar to Flare in the sense that it can quite literally destroy planets. This is best demonstrated by Sephiroth in Final Fantasy VII, as this is the move that he uses to end the world. And funnily enough, this is in Kingdom Hearts technically, but I do feel as if it is a weaker version of the attack. He pulls off Supernova in the Sephiroth boss fight, but it's sort of like a mini version of which. And the only other one that I can really think of at this point would be Death, a magic spell that has one intention, and that is to kill the user that has been inflicted with this curse magic. It does what it says it does, and it instantly kills anything right on the spot. Either way, it is ridiculous to know that Donald Duck, a cartoon Disney character, has the power of a literal god. I hope that for the future of Kingdom Hearts, we do get some explanation on how Goofy in this situation was able to identify that Donald was pulling off Zetta Flare, as if they had experienced it before. Kinda makes me think that Donald, Goofy, and Mickey were involved in another pretty life-threatening moment that forced at least either Donald or Mickey to pull off Zetta Flare. However guys, hopefully that provides you with a bit more of an understanding towards powerful magics across both Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts, and more history towards Zetta Flare. I had done a video sort of talking about this in the past, but I wanted to provide a little bit more context on this, especially because since doing that video, Final Fantasy 16 is released, and really gave us a great demonstration of just the potency of this magic attack. As always, thank you so much to my patrons. You guys are incredible. Turkey-tastic even. I appreciate the support. Be sure to check out my other social media platforms, links in the description down below, as well as the second channel, and subscribe here to TGJ to keep up with the latest. I'm Cynical, hopefully you had a fantastic day, and I'll catch you guys real soon.